We've already talked about the forward approach and the importance of setting up, that 90% of actually doing a dive is setting up with a good hurdle. From a judging standpoint, though, probably 90% of your score is going to come from your entry. And it's really important that you get a good start, but probably just as important to finish that dive off if you want to get a good score. So at this point, we're going to talk about the forward entry, the hollow position, and the swim on an entry. The first thing I want to talk about is a hand grab. And the hand grab is kind of individualized. I'm not sure anybody on my team, and I have a pretty large team, grabs quite the same way, but there are some things that are pretty consistent. I typically teach divers to grab the outside in their fingers and to grab just 3 fingers and really pull them back and get a flat hand on the water. What's interesting too is that I think that a lot of the rip comes from not only the hands but the body position. And in this tape we talk about what's called the hollow position. What we try to do is to really get the core of the body to remain very rigid and tight, so that it's not, when you hit the water, you're not getting any movement like this, which would create splash. The other action is what we call the swim. So once you hit the water, you're going to swim. And when you swim, it's important to remember that the first thing that happens on the release of the swim is that the hands release forward like that. Some divers tend to swim, but they don't get this. And this is Brian Mariano, Indiana diver, demonstrating all of the positions put together here. Notice he's got his hands, he's looking slightly over his hands, he's got his hands back and pulled, he's got his shoulders in nice and tight, and then he does a quick flick with the wrists and pulls the arms down in front. And that's what we call the swim. And then the next part of that would be to pike save, where the hips, after your hips are under the water, you pike save or do a roll underwater. This is Taylor Roberts, another Indiana University diver. He's going to demonstrate a skill that's very simple that you can do at home right off the side of the pool. And basically he's going to come off and jump off into a pike position. Then he's going to go down, and you can see underwater how he's got that swim and the roll we just talked about. So notice he's got a kind of a pike save roll. Here's Brian doing another very simple drill you can do at home, demonstrating that hollow core position, the hands down and roll again. Well, again, what we're trying to do is show you some very simple skill. They look simple, but they actually take a lot of work. The drills that you can do at home, you know, without a whole lot of fancy equipment. If you've got a 3 meter, it's easier, a little easier to do this drill off 3 meter. There's Brian again demonstrating the same hollow lineup fall-in drill from 3 meter. Here's Brian doing the same drill that Taylor did, only he's off the 3 meter. Okay, well, let's summarize the forward entry. Probably the first thing I think is important is to use your eyes. We have a lot of divers that when they close, they tend to not look where they're going. We want you to keep your eyes up and look towards your hands. That'll keep you from ducking your head and rolling. The next thing is to get in nice and tight here so that you're shrugging up with your shoulders. The other thing is to grab out on your hands and get that arms pulled. You know, when you hit the water, you don't necessarily want to think about swimming as much as just pushing through with your shoulders on that. Then after that, it's just a matter of flick the wrist and pull the hands down, pike save and roll. Although those drills look very easy, I can tell you that the guys demonstrating those did hundreds of them to get them to look as good as they did. So keep practicing. It doesn't happen by magic. It takes a lot of hard work, but over time it'll all come together. And remember, once you've got the forward approach and you can finish that with a good entry, you're on your way to being a champion diver.